What's up, everyone? Welcome to this day in Phillies Sports History for October 12th, 2024. I'm your host, Jim Montgomery. Welcome to a Saturday edition, kind of a low-key Saturday, not necessarily what we expected with the Phillies ruining the week pretty much, but we got some good things going on, so hopefully that will make up for it. A few housekeeping notes before we get in. I want to wish my wife a very happy 12th anniversary. A dozen years. It's crazy. The day of our wedding, I woke up with a sty on my eye. Lo and behold, today, 12 years later, there's a sty in my eye. So I guess it's the circle of life, if you will. But anyway, happy anniversary, 12 years. Be sure to follow me on social media, Jimbo_Mott at Twitter and TikTok. On Instagram, at PhillyJimbo. Be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel and then spread the word. That's a Jimbo_Mott, but I've been saying it. But if you're enjoying this, likely there's someone in your circle who will too. We're continuing to spread and grow this thing as the days pass, as the weeks pass. Lots of good things on the horizon as well. So subscribe to the YouTube channel and spread the word. Working with the Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame, getting ready for the induction ceremony in November. Any information you need for that is in the description, including bios of the inductees, ticket information. Still not too late to be a sponsor. Donate something, whatever you got going on. All of that information is there, and we are looking forward to that. Let's start with a recap of yesterday's question of the day. We did our Flyers preview, and I asked you, will the Flyers make the playoffs? 90% of you said no. And again, I do think it's going to be one of those things that comes down to the end, and it's going to be close. But a lot of the analysis of that, as all of you were saying, I totally agree with, that the Flyers will be better than they were last year. They will probably have more wins, probably have more points. It's just the East is so deep and so tough. So they could sneak in there, though, and to me, it's like, why not? And along those same notes, I told you yesterday about the season-long bet at 88.5 points, and I liked the over at 88.5. A few of you pointed out to me, and then I went back and looked at my account and realized the same thing. The over-under was at 85.5. So if you were able to get any number between 85 and 88 for the Flyers' total points, that's a good bet. I'm not sure where all the other sports books are now since you started. I know DraftKings had some up. I didn't see the Flyers, but if you can get anything between 85 and 88 over for the Flyers' total points, take it. It'll give us something fun to watch as we go through the season. The team's going to be fun, but it's always something special when you have a little bit of money on it. But thank you, as always, for participating in the question of the day. There'll be another one coming up very, very soon. And let's stick with the Flyers. I'm not sure how many of you stayed up late to see this. I, for one, did not. But they opened up the season with a 3-2 shootout win over the Vancouver Canucks. Tyson Forrester and Cam York both had goals. There was also a power play goal. We talked about this yesterday in the Flyers preview, that they had the absolute worst power play in the league. Off to a good start to start the season. Sam Ersson was good in goal. Jet Luchenko and Matvei Mishkov, they had some mixed results. They're rookies. That's what's going to happen. But I was watching some of the replays, and there were some very, very good plays. I think the two of these guys are going to be trouble. Mishkov Mania is running wild. It looked like it was a fun game to watch. I'm looking forward to when they get back from this 5-game West Coast trip to watching more hockey. They're back at it tonight out in Calgary. Another game they very well could win or at least get some points from. So at this point, we just want that Flyers points total to go up. And whether you got it at 85, 86, 87, or 88.5, just keep piling up those points, Flyers. But that does lead us to today's question of the day. We're going to stick with the Flyers since it's opening weekend for them. Will you watch more Flyers games this year? I for one, will. I'll be honest, I did not watch as much as I thought I was going to last year. It was kind of like an ebb and flow season. But just from what I've seen so far in replays, and I've not yet been able to watch a game live between the rookie games and any of the preseason games, And then the one game I did watch, Mishkov didn't play. But I'm excited to see this dude. And like I went down a rabbit hole the other day before I did the preview, and everybody from NHL scouts to analysts, all kinds of people associated that know a lot about hockey said the same thing, that this dude could be a game changer. So for me, that means I'm watching more hockey. But what about you? Are you watching more Flyers games this year? 267-495-8531 will get you into the Back to the Future voice and text line. Get that, anything else Philly sports related off your chest. Want to still vent and complain about the Eagles or the Phillies even? I meant the Phillies, but we always bitch about the Eagles, so why not? But this is a support group, safe space to get your frustrations out about the Eagles. That's 267-495-8531. And let me know, are you watching more Flyers hockey this year? And hockey is one of those sports where if you actually, in Philly, you're either a Flyers fan or you're everything else, and then you watch the Flyers. But I will say, if you sit down and start watching it, it's a very entertaining sport. And we talked about the Flyers over 85.5 point bet. Betting on hockey is fun too. You can do first period, unders, overs. There was a trend last year that I kind of bet on a little bit, where if a first period went under with certain teams, the second period would go over. So it is fun, but I will be watching more hockey this year. Sixers lost their preseason game to Minnesota, but big picture, that doesn't matter. Paul George and Tyrese Maxey, from what I was able to decipher, seemed like they played well together. Paul George was very aggressive. He led all scorers with 23. Kind of took over the first quarter. Tyrese took over the third quarter. There was no Joe. So the fact that these two guys are able to play well off of each other, and it's going to be key because you're going to have to rest Joe a lot. But a good start for the NBA preseason for the Sixers. Just setting it up for Lucy to take that football. But listen, let me be excited now because I'm trying to move on from the Phillies. It's only a matter of time before the Eagles disappoint me. At least let me have the Sixers until January, maybe. I don't know. Be sure to check out my boys over at the Clashing Conferences podcast. Doing great things. Both episodes were outstanding this week, the baseball and the football. Basketball is around the corner. That is available wherever you get your podcasts, as well as on YouTube. And then go to Philly Goat. Get flyered up, get Sixered up, get ready for Eagle season. If you want to live in the past, buy some Red October gear. Whatever you need, they got you covered. And it's never too early to start thinking about Christmas shopping. I'm telling you, those canvas loafers do make a good gift. Even though the Phillies disappointed us, the Schmitties and the fans were two of my go-to shoe selection choices this year. So go to Philly Goat. Be sure to use the promo code Jim Montgomery to take 10% off your order. That's phillygoat.com. Promo code Jim Montgomery to take 10% off your order. All right, some Phillies news. I saw that Dave Dombrowski and Rob Thompson are going to be speaking to the media on Tuesday, sort of the post-mortem. I'm not really expecting them to give us much, but I'm anxious to see maybe you can decipher or decode something they say. There's a lot of big decisions to be made, and like everybody I was speaking to, kids were out playing basketball yesterday, so I was talking with my neighbor, and he's not a Bohm fan, and Bohm doesn't necessarily bother me, but I think Bohm is one of the pieces that you need to look to get rid of. And the problem is they're locked in with so many of the contracts that there's very few opportunities. So I think a lot is going to come down to what John Middleton's willing to spend. Is he willing to go dollar for dollar over the luxury tax to get guys in here? I mean, he's saying the right things. He's going out there and saying, I want my effing trophy back. But just how bad do you want it? Are you willing to basically go out and buy it? I'm okay with it. And again, it's not my money, but why not? But one thing's for sure, they cannot run it back with the team. They've tried that, and we've seen how it played out. They need some hitters. and not like guys that come in and just try to pound home runs. They need some hitters, a guy I don't know. And I know this is like the extreme exception, but Tony Gwynn comes in my mind. And he's somebody who doesn't strike out, somebody who puts the ball in play, somebody who makes things happen. And I know there's not too many of them out there now just because of the way the game's changed, but you need to sprinkle something in there, man. Because their pitching staff should be solid, especially with some of the young guys coming up. I know the bullpen needs some work, but Andrew Painter should be back in time for spring training off of the Tommy John. John Middleton, it's your move, man. How much can Dave Dombrowski spend? Do us all. Give us all an early Christmas present and say, here's the checkbook. Go do what you got to do. All right, gearing up for the Eagles-Browns tomorrow. Everyone was a full participant in practice. It's the healthiest they've been all season, which is good. No word on whether or not they're going to activate Sidney Brown or not. My sense is they will. I think that allows you to kind of move Avonte Maddox and gives you a little bit more flexibility in the secondary. A.J. Brown spoke to the media, said the hamstring injury was just a freak accident from going too hard in practice. I mean, I don't know. I mean, that's the kind of thing you want to hear from your star player, that, hey, I practiced too hard. Maybe tone it back a little, AJ, so we can have you in the games that mean something. But he's ready to go. I can see him having 2 touchdowns tomorrow. So if he's on your fantasy team, if you bet player props, I really, really like A.J. Brown tomorrow, and I think the offense is going to look much better. Sirianni spoke yesterday too, said he had some good long conversations with Jalen Hurts during the bye week about the team and things like that. So I do feel that when all of the things came up with Jalen and Nick in the preseason and training camp, I think there might have been something there to it. And we kind of saw that at the beginning of the season. So this is now both of them kind of talking about this. Maybe they put it beside them. Maybe we're going to see. I don't know. And again, this could be me just trying to grasp onto something because of the pain from the Phillies. But I believe them when they say things are good, and believe them when they say they're ready to play tomorrow. So we will see. The Browns are very injured. Nick Chubb is not coming back tomorrow. David Njoku will play. They're banged up on the offensive line, though. They're banged up in the secondary. It's laid out on a silver platter for the Eagles. But we'll have our 3 keys to the game and our prediction and bet for the game tomorrow. So stay tuned for that. But things are looking up. If it was the up, down, or sideways arrow, I think the arrow would be pointing up for the Eagles for this week. But we'll get into all of that, the 3 keys, as well as our predictions tomorrow. We're going to stick with the Eagles today, and we're going to go back to 2003. On this day in 2003, the Eagles lost to the Cowboys 23-21. Now, back in 2000, the Eagles went down to Dallas, opened up the game with the onside kick. They recovered it, set the tone for the game. If you remember, that was the pickle juice game. Coming into this game in Dallas, Donovan was dealing with, I don't think it was broken, but it was like a sprained thumb or something, and he had the bandage. He was struggling to throw the ball. The Eagles were 2-2, kind of going through the motions at this point. I think they were still a little bit going through that hangover with losing to Tampa Bay, and then they started the season brutally, losing to the Patriots and the Buccaneers by scoring 10 points total. So Andy Reid, looking to spark the team and maybe give his quarterback a little bit of a boost, said, why not again? Opened up the game with an onside kick on this day in 2003. This time the Cowboys were ready. Randall Williams took it 37 yards for a touchdown. Cowboys were up 6-0 within 3 seconds of the game starting. That is the fastest score to date in NFL history. And to be honest, it's going to be hard to top that. I mean, I remember watching this, and Randall was moving. But the Eagles did battle back. They did run the ball 32 times for 2 touchdowns, but McNabb just struggled with that thumb, went 11 for 26 for 126 yards and a touchdown. Reading the paper, doing the research for this, I think it was Paul Domovich, was calling for him to sit down and take a couple weeks off to rest that thumb. Andy Reid didn't take his advice. McNabb played through it. Although it was a struggle the first couple games, the Eagles did go on to win 9 straight after this Cowboys loss, finished 12-4, number 1 seed, and this was the Panthers' year. But again, we all know how that ended up turning out. And again, there's a lot. I mentioned this yesterday, and not to pile on the Phillies, but it's still a fresh wound. There are a lot of similarities between the Andy Reid, Donovan McNabb era and this Phillies thing we're going through right now. I don't know. I feel like because of what happened with the Phillies, everything's reminded me of the Phillies. It's like going through a bad breakup. But on this day in 2003, Eagles lost to the Cowboys 23-20. Andy Reid attempted an onside kick once again in Dallas to open the game. Randall Williams took it 37 yards for the touchdown. 3 seconds into the game, Eagles are down. That is the fastest score in NFL history. All right, hopefully this is not digging up old wounds for you with the Phillies, but let's go to our Red October, great game in Phillies postseason history. We didn't talk a lot about the 1983 National League champions, but let's go back to Game 4 of the 83 NLCS. Now, going into the NLCS, the Dodgers that year had beaten the Phillies 11 out of 12 games that they had played. So they came in thinking they were going to roll over the Phils. Well, they split the first 2 games in Dodger Stadium. The Phillies winning the first one, Dodgers winning Game 2. Phillies came back home, won Game 3 7-2, and looked to clinch for Game 4, their second National League pennant in 4 years. This was a team that was known as the Wheeze Kids. They had 9 guys over 30. I think they had a handful of guys over 40. But they came in hot, and it goes back to what we talked about with the Phillies and the Mets. You have to be hot at the right time in Major League Baseball, and this is even going back now to the 80s. They came down through September and October at 23-8, and Game 4 they were not going to be denied. Gary Matthews, Sarge himself, hit a 3-run shot in the bottom of the first. Steve Carlton gave up a run in the 4th, but then Mike Schmidt doubled in Pete Rose and then scored on a fielder's choice in the 5th. And everybody's favorite, Sixto Lezcano, which I completely forgot about that name. And yes, that is his name, Sixto Lezcano, hit a 2-run homer in the 6th. The Dodgers would get one back in the 8th, but it was Phillies winning 7-2. Winning the series 4-1. They would go on to play the Baltimore Orioles in the World Series, in which they would win Game 1 and then lose 4 straight. But on this day, or not on this day, that's a whole different thing. This is our Red October. See, the Phillies got me so messed up, I don't even know my own segments. This is our Red October, great game in Phillies postseason history. Game 4, the 83 NLCS. Phils win 7-2. Clinched the pennant thanks to Gary Matthews and Sixto Lezcano hitting a 3-run and a 2-run homer. Steve Carlton was good, even though he was starting to get old. But 7-2, Phils win Game 4 of the 83 NLCS. On this day in 2003, Eagles lost to the Cowboys 23-21. Andy Reid attempted once again in Dallas to open the game with an onside kick. Randall Williams took it 37 yards. All of a sudden, Eagles down 7-0, 3 seconds into the game. Fastest score in NFL history. We will have our 3 keys and our Eagles prediction tomorrow. Flyers Flames tonight out in Calgary, another 10 p.m. start. If you can still get in the Flyers over point bet, anything between 85 or anything under 88.5, take it. And it'll give us something fun to watch as we go through the Flyers season. But it looks like it's going to be a fun season to watch the Fly Guys. Be sure to let me know. Are you going to be watching more Flyers because of the young guys they have in Jet Luchenko and Matvey Mishkov? I know I will. 267-495-8531. That is the Back to the Future voice and text line. No kids' sports today because of a big soccer tournament, so we're going to the pumpkin patch. Go have yourselves a Saturday. This has been This Day in Philly Sports History for October 12th, 2024. My name is Jim Montgomery, and until next time, I'll see you when I see you.